And I'm starving. Lord have mercy.
Got the good vibe, got the 1942 pouring in my cup. In the session real loud, good gas, yeah, you know we about to roll it up. Bring the bottles to the session, big tab, go ahead and just live it up. Get lit one night, after that, we can go ahead.
What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Icon. We here on 95 South Podcast. You know what I'm saying? I want to thank God for this opportunity once again to be on air. This is a very exciting day. Whatever. In the building, I got my man Jacob, the great. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Personality himself. You know what I'm saying? The building. What's going on, brother?
What's happening, man? It's yours truly, man. Jacob the Great, aka King Jacob. And we just here, man. We got a great topic for you this morning. And it's a heavy topic that people go through every day of their lives. And they just can't seem to get away from this situation that they're in. So we're going to try to give them a little advice and give them a little upbeat and just try to help them see things in a different way so they can change the narrative of their situation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So basically what we're talking about is toxic relationships today. We're talking about toxic relationships, basically, and how to get out of those toxic relationships. First and foremost, I would say, shout out to D-Boss. This is going to be our first aired show episode that's going to be out there in Canada when this airs next Thursday or whatever. So definitely look for that out there, everybody. Definitely look and follow us on IG. You see our IG at the bottom. So definitely follow us. We can get them numbers up so we can continue to, move forward with this thing. But anyway, man, toxic relationships, and my thing with toxic relationships is like this. It all comes from the fact that, it comes from having self-awareness, and it comes from having self-love first and foremost. Because when you have self-love and self-awareness, you don't allow people to infiltrate your world and infiltrate your life in a certain way. I remember years ago, I asked God to deliver me from people, and you're like deliver you from people, yeah. So, I would allow people to get under my skin. I would allow people to infiltrate my world, and I just like yourself. We good people. We always want to help people. We always want to show people love. We always want to see people win. But in seeing people win, sometimes everybody don't have good intentions of the way they approach you and the way they deal with you and your feelings or whatever. And I'm a type of person who I always felt like I want people to treat me like I treat them. And, used to be the type of person where, like, basically, how whatever I kind of like, when you bless somebody. One thing I learned years ago: when you bless somebody, the person you bless is not going to be the person that's going to bless you back 9 times out of 10. It's usually going to be a whole different person, maybe be a stranger that blesses you back, and it's going to be tenfold. It's going to be more than what you did for somebody else. So, that's kind of my opening spiel on that. So what's your thoughts on toxic relationships?
Toxicity. The level of toxicity. How do one become toxic? Why is one toxic? Is it something just generational curse from the genetics that they've been brought up around? Or is it some friends you hang around? Or is it even coworkers that you hang around? Or is it just the plain old church folk that just get dressed up to sit on the 2 front pews and talk about the pastor and everybody else in the church? Which toxic relationship are we talking of? So, with that being said, we got a good word for you today. Like the pastor said, let the church say amen. So we got a good old word for you today. And with that being said, man, the toxic relationship, I think it has mental control over people and emotional control. because mentally they've been there with that person forever. Emotionally, they're connected to that person, and spiritually, that person has damaged them spiritually. So it got three different levels, and even and even physically, once they don't be around their toxicity, sometimes they miss that physical presence of that person who always keeps them going. So we're gonna top it up by all that, but I think for the most part, man, a toxic relationship registers with everything that I just said. And so the first topic we'll talk about is the toxic family member or the toxic family members, with S on it. And so I think it's just some family members just they toxic. Everything gotta be their way. They have a jealous spirit. Can't nobody be doing better than them. They don't want to see anybody else accomplish anything, or they don't want to see anybody else with anything. And when they come around, they always got something negative to say. The energy be so bad, you'll find yourself really, 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 really happy. You doing what you do, doing your daily routines, and they'll come around, and you be pissed off to the third degree. You be so hot that a person can fry a dozen eggs on your head because they didn't piss you off that bad. And
Mhm.
so, how do we get away from toxic family members? And in that sense, why do toxic family members feel like you turning your back on your bloodline? Like I'm your first cousin, I'm your brother, I'm your sister. Uh, uh, um, um, how could you do me like this? We we grew up in the same house together for a little while. We played in the sandbox together. How can you do that? But if you don't get away from that toxic family member, that spills over to your work environment. It feels over to your friendships, and it just feels over into how you conduct yourself as a whole in society. So why, how, and how, and when? Excuse me. When do we get away from the toxic family member icon, and how do we change the narrative and getting to see people, getting people to see that they are toxic? How do we recognize the point so they can recognize it and so they can change the narrative, or do they even want to change? So back to you, man.
You know what? I'm probably about to get in trouble for this one, um, but I'm not. I don't really care because I'm not gonna say any names. So if somebody responds to this later on, all I can say is a hit dog always holler. So basically, in a toxic, most people who are toxic towards you, either they don't know it, they don't care, or that old narrative, especially in the black community, whereas we never want to address the negative things that goes on in our families. That's why you very seldom see you don't see a lot of black families going to counseling together, or whatever things of that nature, going to go see a psychologist because most time they really don't think nothing is wrong. I seen it, when I first moved back from Atlanta to North Carolina. I seen it up close and personal how toxic a family can be when they lean on one person all the time. When they bring all their problems to your doorstep. When things don't go their way, then they have to point fingers and blame at everybody else but themselves. It's like, don't you realize every time something go wrong, you the common denominator, but you don't see it that way. You see it as everybody against you, everybody doesn't love you, everybody is not for you. Family members are the most entitled people more than anything else. They just because they feel like because we like you said because we grew up together, because we played in the sandbox, because we shared draws and whatever it was together, that my time is your time. So I can because one thing I had to get used to again, living in Atlanta, it's kind of you in a big city, everything's spread out. So people normally don't just pop up at your house. People call first or whatever because they might live 20 minutes away, 30 minutes away, whatever. So they're gonna call first or whatever, and then people in that environment they get used to being courteous of other people's time. Whereas in you live in a country in a small town, people just pull up to your house. You know what I'm saying, or whatever, and come over and whatever. You know, I mean, I remember last Christmas, a family member of ours just came. They came to the house, and as soon as they came in the house, they arguing. The boyfriend and the girlfriend arguing, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. First, I'm sitting there watching them, like going back for like 5 minutes. Okay, what's this all about? You know what I'm saying? And then I'm stopping. I'm like, hold on. First of all,
Hold on, Icon. Hold on,
uh,
bro. Hold on. Let's as Martin Lawrence said, hey, stop the press. So stop the press. Listen, man. Listen, man. They come into your house in your peaceful environment, interrupting you and your family's peace,
yep.
and just a knock down, drag down argument in your house.
I'm talking about all out argument. It was basically the argument was over the baby daddy not doing enough for the kids and or whatever. That's basically what the argument was about. So I'm just sitting there watching, you know, them go back and forth, and I'm looking like at first I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let them. I want to see what this is about first before I shut it down. So after about 5-10 minutes, I finally said, oh, first of all, what's the solution to the problem? And the female said to the male, like I said, I'm trying to keep the people out of it, the people that's involved, because they know who they are if they watch this. The female said to the male, well, it's not a solution. I said, what you mean it's not a solution? It's always a solution. You may not like the solution, but it's always a solution or whatever. So basically I said, but y'all not going to be coming up in here or doing all this back and forth arguing, especially in front of the kids, because y'all got the kids with you too. So you dang sure ain't going to be arguing in front of these kids. So y'all need to, I told the man, I said, listen, you go down the road, go down to your people's house, whatever you got to do, you calm down. And I told the female, you go over to the corner, someone you calm down. You know what I'm saying? But y'all need to separate, you know, for a minute before y'all continue this argument back and forth. But my thing was to get back to toxic relationships. Why would you bring your mess into my home? And this happened time and time again. You know what I'm saying? And it took a toll on my family because, you know what I mean? It's like we got put in the middle of stuff that had nothing to do with us. And then at the end result ended up being, oh, well, this happened over at Eddie's house and blah, blah, blah. And then other family members got involved and whatever. And they calling us like, oh, what happened? And we said we heard this, that, and the third. And they got the story all wrong and mixed up and messed up. And you know how we are. You know, it go from that game you used to play in school where you whisper in somebody's ear, and by the time we get to the end of the doggone line, it don't be nothing that the person said at the beginning. That's bad, and it's really because that one person in the middle purposely said the wrong thing. So that's kind of how family members can be. They'll purposely say the wrong thing to kind of change the narrative because family members are just no more worse than social media. They're gonna create a narrative in a situation to make to kind of create chaos and drama for no reason. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so that's kind of, you know, how I look at it when it comes to family members. You know what I'm saying? What's your spiel on that?
Listen, man. When it comes to family members, I stay away. Like I don't really feel the need to get involved because I already know what it is. I already know it's gonna be some drama. I already know there'll be some mess with certain family members, and I already know, you know, yeah, you my cousin, and I love you, but you messy, you big messy, you big petty, and you big messy, and wherever there's drama, there's you. So if you don't want that drama and you want to be around, if you don't want to be around that toxicity and that nonsense, man, you just stay away, man. Or if I do come through, hey and bye. Like, what's up with you? What's going on? How you been? Okay, but hanging out, nah, bro. Like you just can't do it, man. You just can't control that much toxicity, man. Like if you gotta think, if somebody used to be, if they've been toxic since they was young, ain't nothing you can do.
Yep.
Ain't nothing you can do, man. So that toxic relationship with the family members is something serious, man. Like I done seen family members come to blows. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I done seen other family members that don't want to go around them. You like, what do you look like? Y'all at a family gathering or a cookout, and it's two brothers out there fighting, or two sisters out there fighting. Like what? That makes no sense, man. That's toxic, man. You know what I mean? And then you know the parents just don't know what to do because they done did their job. They didn't try to raise them to be adults. You know what I mean? And raise them
Mhm.
into becoming great adults and productive citizens of society. But here they are. So
Mhm.
I think when it comes to them talk to family members, it ain't a lot you can do, man. It ain't a lot you can do. It's not a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. I mean, well, and the thing about it is that I've seen it all in family members. I've been in the fights where you have to break them up or you have to stop the fights from happening. I've seen the
Okay.
uh, I've seen the fights. That's nephew.
That's nephew.
I've
Yeah.
seen the fights. I've seen the fights where you have to break them up. I've seen the arguments where stuff happened or somebody get pissy drunk at the cookout. You know what I'm saying? I've seen all those type of things that go on and thing about it is a lot of times when people get together, and because my grandma used to be the type. I'm gonna tell you how my grandma used to be way back in the day. And she'll tell you this story too. She was alive, rest in peace, grandma. But when my grandma used to get it,
RP.
when my grandma used to get the drinking back in the day, she was that, you know how you say that uncle or that aunt that tell all your business.
Right.
She be that uncle, or she be that grandma, that family member get drunk and say, that ain't you know that's your daddy, right? You know what I'm saying?
Listen, bro. Listen, man. Listen, hey, man. Listen, hey, man. Older people, the seniors, the pillars of the community, know the most detrimental secrets, bro. When I tell you, bro, you know, like when you bring somebody around, they start asking questions. That's such and so and so, son. And then they'll be like, and they'll see you next, baby. No, baby, that ain't that. That ain't that boy's daddy. His mama been telling him lies for the last 20 years. Be like, you be like, what? I
Mm-hmm.
can't believe you just said that. Well, they be like, well.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
care what they say, man.
Yep. 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 So I mean, so that's like I said, like, because thing about toxic relationships is sometimes the jealousy in toxic relationships will come out, and then people, like you said, people don't want to see you win. And the one thing about and I don't know what it is. It's just especially in our neighborhoods, in our community, sometime, and for the world, like I said, this is our first episode where, um, this is going to be broadcast all over the world, Canada, and different places. And I know a lot of times we get these, other, the other country and other cultures don't get it because when you see different cultures around the world, you see a more tightness and closeness in their neighborhoods. If you see a Mexican family, you see them 10 deep going to the grocery store together or doing a lot of stuff together. I worked with Haitians before, and you've seen how close they are. And if you get like I had a Haitian manager, and everybody that have probably 75-80% of the staff were Haitians. You know what I'm saying, from his church or from his community. And a lot of times with us is, when we get up to the top, we don't want to pull. It's two types of toxic. It's two types of people. It's the ones that go to the top, that leave the neighborhood, that leave the hood, and don't look back. And it's the ones that when you leave the hood, you leave the neighborhood, everybody else don't want to see you win. I
Right.
heard Charleston White say one time, and I know he's probably the most controversial person on the internet, but he say some good stuff. And I heard him say one time, he said, "How long is the hood going to hold our own people slavery and our own people hostage?" Meaning, when I go out and I win and I make it out, how long is it that you're gonna hate on my success? How long are you gonna make me feel like I have to, like, you have a stronghold on me being in the neighborhood or whatever. Not to say you don't go back and help, but I don't have to hang out on the block every day. I don't have to ride around in the hood every single day with no purpose at all. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever, unless I'm someone like a Nipsey where I'm building up businesses and doing things like that, then you have a reason to be in the hood, a lot more than than the average person. But at the end of the day, it's like, when I become successful, like just say for what we got going on. When people heard about what we doing, the first thing they'll say, how y'all get that? You know what I'm saying? Like we ain't worthy or we ain't capable of growing and evolving to something else. Like we have to have, it has to be a certain reason why we got it. It can't just be from our hard work. It can't just be from people just liking our pretty faces. You know what I'm saying? It got to be, it got to be some hidden agenda behind why this happened. And I guarantee you, the more we grow, the more all this other stuff will come out of why this and why that and this, that, and the third, where people just have been happy for you. And that's those toxic people. You know what I'm saying? Because me personally, I'm the type of person, if you don't bring positive to my world, and if you don't make me feel, if I don't feel good when I'm around you, then I can't be around you. You know what I'm saying? Point blank.
Right. And speaking of Charleston White, he said some good stuff, man, but I mean, I think a lot of time, man, he got some toxic ways as well. You know what I mean? I don't really speak on the dead like that. You know what I'm saying? So just leave them where they at. If they rest, let them rest. We don't know what eternal place they went to. Just like I don't feel like he should bring up certain stuff, but he do say a lot of stuff, and I can see why he do want to protect our neighborhoods, our black communities from being safe, because the black communities are not safe right now. Because there's so many toxic people just walking around, nothing to do but be toxic. You know what I mean? All don't want to create anything to do, so they can be a creative person to really think outside their boundaries. So, but yeah, that family member toxic thing is crazy. So let's talk about them toxic church folks. Lord have mercy. Have mercy, boy. And that toxic pastor. That toxic pastor that look down on you.
You got to touch on something now.
Man, I listen, man. I'm here for it all. I'm here for it all.
All the smoke.
All the smoke. And these come on, man. Ain't no way in the world that you got 3 different services and 7,000 members at each service, and they're obligated to pay $100 per member. What?
So you made $21,000 in one day,
man.
You know what I'm saying? And all that going to God. You know what I'm saying? That's all 21,000 going to God.
Right. And then the fraternizing of the pastors that fraternize with the members' wives and the deacon wives and create that toxic environment in the church, that hostile environment where a man don't even feel like he can come to church and serve his home church, but it ain't the same pastor you grow with, but you got these new pastors, the pimp player pushers. You know what I mean? And so I think that, and then it's the thing like church members do anything for their pastor, bro. Like I just, it's no way in the world that you should fix the pastor a plate before you fix your husband a plate. Ain't no way. I can't come on, talk about it now. Ain't no way. Come on, man. Come on, man.
That's just the way. That's the way people were taught in church. I had a pastor years ago, like in the middle of service, he had somebody take her shoes on and off for while she, or whatever. And if you didn't move fast enough, she'd lay you out. You know what I mean, or whatever the case may be. Like I went to a church that was basically a cult. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what it was. I'm just gonna say up and down, it was a cult. we had a pastor that was self-serving for herself and serving to herself. And I always tell this story, and this story sticks with me more than anything. So she was one of those prophecy pastors. Like we had revivals almost every weekend or every other weekend, and she would bring other prophecy pastors in. And every time, and I remember one time the craziest thing, the one time that made it very alarming when this one lady said, this one pastor said to my son, "Yeah, you're gonna be a basketball player. You're gonna be an NBA star." And we looking around like, who they talking about? They mean you talking about? I said,
hold on, hold on now. So you talking about the son I know?
Yeah, the son you know. And I said, I looked around like, what's up, me and the white lady? What son they talking about? Cause he only play sport. He ain't got athletic bone in his body. He don't got athletic bone in his little toe. Like, he used to fall over his shadow dang near. Like, you know what I mean? Like this one, I was like, and he already in high school now. Keep in mind, he already 15, 16 years old. So it ain't like he like 10 where he got time to grow and to be an athlete. No, he's 16, 15, 16. Now, he pretty much at this point know what he kind of do in his life. And sports ain't one of them. So we knew right then, okay, this don't make no bit of sense. Now, she told us she come in one day because she the type where, well, God told you to go out and get that house this week, or God told you to go get that new car. And if I come back next week and you ain't, and I heard and you don't tell me that you went and got that new car, that new house, you know what I'm saying? You're going against God and da 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 da. So I remember she said, well, God told me to go out and get a brand new Mercedes. He wanted me to have a brand new Mercedes. So she went, and then she came back.
Hold on, bro. Hold on. Now, if this ain't blasphemy, I don't know what it is. You man, listen. Out of every car you seen, every car lot you passed by, used and up-to-date car lots. So God just told you go get a Mercedes.
God told her to go get a Mercedes.
God just woke you up out your sleep, or God just visit you while you at work and just like, Pastor, you did well. You've been leading this flock. Go get you a Mercedes. Consider this is your reward. God ain't told you that. God ain't bit more told you that than a man in the moon.
Yeah. So basically, so she was like, she come back and she say, well, God told me it wasn't time yet when she didn't get approved. So
so first God tell you, and then God go back on his word and say it one time.
Yeah, God went back on his word. That's what her thing was. God told her, you know what? I don't think you're ready yet. You know what? But what it really was is she took some other. This is how toxic come in. She took some other church members that made good money, and when they get to the dealership, she thinking they gonna co-sign for her to get this car. You know what I mean? And when they looking at her like, Pastor, we never agreed on that. You know what I'm saying? So, that's kind of why she had to come back and double back on what she said. Now, later on, she ended up getting her like a BMW. So I guess God said maybe it wasn't a BMW. Maybe I was wrong. It wasn't a Mercedes. It was a BMW. So but she got some other church members to pay for that. Not these church members, but she had other church members pay for her a BMW, or at least co-sign for her to get this BMW.
So I tell her every car you bought, God told you to buy it.
No, I know every car. Because if God told me to buy every car I got, then me and God need to have a conversation. Because some cars I know God didn't tell me. That was me that bought that car. God tell me to buy that car.
Oh man, that's funny. That is too funny.
What you want me to get in here? What you want me to be in here? So yeah, so I already know that was just me being impulsive. What you say impulsive? That was just me being impulsive and buying a car or doing something before ahead of time. That's one thing. That's one thing when you get older in age, you realize to be more patient with stuff. You realize like I can't have everything like I want it right then and there. When you're younger, you want everything right then, and that's why especially in our community we get. I know we're gonna eventually have a whole show about credit and about savings, and I'm the number one victim or suspect, whatever you want to call me, victim or suspect. I'm the number one person when it comes to mismanaging money or whatever, especially when you're trying to please other people, or you see something you want or whatever at that time, you want to do something. Especially when I first got into the music business, I was taking all kind of just foolish chances with money and pulling money out my home. I was toxic to my own family because of the stuff I was doing, as far as like the way I was spending money or whatever. So, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, but yeah. So, but going back to what we talking about with the church members, sometimes they lean on people, the pastors, the deacon, lean on the members a lot sometimes, where they may be like, to go back to this cult that I went to. She would tell us, or I'd be like, Pastor, I can't make it to the picnic, or I can't make it to such and such, the homeless feeding, I gotta work. Well, you love your job more than you love God, or whatever, So what if God take that job away from you? Well, you need to call in, huh? But you want me to give you such and such amount of money next week, you know what I'm saying, for this, that, and the third, but you don't want me to work because you got something on your agenda, your plate that you want me to be at, and it caused a lot of arguments in our church because certain church members, certain deacons, that follow behind the pastor. I'm getting into it with the deacon. So not only am me and the pastor having words about it, I'm getting into it with the deacon about it. You know what I'm saying? Because the deacon who basically is up under the pastor, who agreeing with her, but brother, you are independent contractor. At the time I was working regular jobs. You're independent contractor, not just me. It was other people too. It was other members that was, we have our men's conversations and conference calls, and they would literally, I'm talking about, I seen where the men would get it there and they get into drag out arguments over stuff like that, or it'd be in the back of the church after the service and they back there be about to fight like they two dudes in the street. You know what I'm saying? Over different, different stuff like that, because we all trying to please the pastor. And the one thing I had to get away from, and I tell people this, and take heed to what I'm saying. You have to learn how to please God and don't look at the person who's supposed to representing God as God. And that's a lot of time these pastors try to present themselves almost like they're God. And you start wanting to please them more than you want to please God. And the one thing about God, especially one thing about Jesus in specific, if you say Jesus in specific, Jesus, when he picked his disciples, he knew their flaws. He knew what they were about. And he basically more or less said, listen, I can use that for what I'm trying to do over here. So I'm not trying to totally strip you down of your whole personality, of your whole being. I'm trying to use what you have in a positive way. I know what I did. I know what I created. So why would I look at you and say, oh, no, I don't recognize that? Now, some of the negative stuff, God to say I don't recognize, but he knows in your personality, like you like to have fun and talk junk and joke around and do certain stuff. God knows that about Jacob. So, but he can use that in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever the case may be. So, and it's funny because my current pastor, he said something a couple of weeks ago, and I forgot what scripture he was speaking out of, because ain't gonna lie, I ain't no big Bible person, but I am, spiritually connected, whatever. And he said you may know the scripture. He was talking about a certain person in the Bible, and he was saying that basically God, like, how you ask God to deliver you from something? God is not going to deliver you from everything, because if he delivers you from everything, one or two things are going to happen. One, you're going to stop feeling like you got to come to God because you're going to feel like you're perfect. And two, some of the things that you still that's in you need it to be able to function. Like you need certain things about you that makes you tick. That he knows that if I strip this from you, you're not gonna be able to function the same. You're not gonna be able to do stuff the same. So that's how I was. I got to the point where I was so trying to please my pastor and my deacons that I lost myself. So I spent more time thinking everything I said, everything I did was wrong. You know what I'm saying? And that's what family would do, friends would do, churches would do. They will make you feel like everything you're doing is wrong. You know what I'm saying? So You know what I mean? So that's my little soapbox. You know what I'm saying? How you feeling about that?
Well, toxic can go a lot of ways, and the pastor, they had like the pastor Jesus, they had like Pastor God, they had like the pastor walk with Apostle Paul, and he had the second one behind Moses departing the Red Sea, or she had the second one behind the Red Sea. But what's what's interesting about a lot of pastors, man. And when I was a kid, you didn't so much see it, but now you see a lot of pastors, you know, getting caught cheating on their wives or getting caught cheating on their husbands. So, you know, I just got a quote to say about that. That sexy church dress will put you in a hot mess. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have some women that wear some things the church boys like. Listen here. Who you thought you was coming to see? Jamie Foxx and Tank and Elder Bart? You're like, what's going on? What's going on, man? Like that you got these young men that's in high school have to athletes. They nudge each other in the shoulder like that, and they're like, boy, look at here, boy. I think we need to come to church more often.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that toxic environment. Then you got the pastors that give these women a hug in church, and man, they just hugging them tight, and they rubbing all on the woman back, and the husband standing right there, and the husband really want to beat the pastor up right there in the third section of that third pew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and then here comes the argument at home. So that toxicity of church spills over into your household,
Mm-hmm.
your household, and so the level of toxicity that you get from church folk, Icon, how do you get away from that? Do you just change churches? Because listen, man, you got the good old church folk at almost every church you go to. You know what I mean? And you got the good old church folk that worship the pastor. Like they're gonna tell you, you can't say that to the pastor. You can't talk to the pastor like that. Did you hear what the pastor just said?
Well,
Like, and then they gonna, and then you say what you say. You really gonna tell the pastor that?
mm-hmm.
You know you ain't supposed to talk to the pastor like that. Why?
Well, see, it's the
He,
thing
he,
about
he,
it.
he a man like I am. He put his pants on just like I put my one leg at a time. Like what?
Mm-hmm.
Like so he can talk to me like I'm a stray dog from the alley, but I can't say what I feel. Come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
It just don't work like that.
Well, like I said, once again, going back to this one pastor I had, they're rebuking in front of the whole congregation right in service or whatever, or whatever, and some pastors feel like they entitled to do that or
Well,
whatever.
hold on, though, Icon. Did she rebuke their car salesman? Because she can't get the Mercedes?
Hey,
I'm just,
hey, oh, and I'm gonna tell you the funny thing about her though was we'd go all out the church, after service, like go to corral or somewhere, right? And we would go in there, and she would literally get into it with the waitress or get into it with the person at the front counter. I mean, one time we went and fed some homeless people down in Atlanta at the women's shelter, and I remember one of the people, one of the homeless people, she got upset because she wanted some extra food or whatever for her kids or whatever, and the pastor got into it with the lady, and I'm looking like, first of all, you know what these people going through. You know what these mothers are going through. They single moms. They out here living on the streets. Yeah, they're going to be a little bit tight. They're going to have attitudes. They're going to be whatever. But you still got to show them some love. You can't just act like you, because I'm the pastor of this whatever, that you can't, I'm going to talk to you in the old kind of way. And who are you to talk to me? Because she going back to her street way, because, she came from the streets herself back in the day. And you going back to that street mentality of feeling like you going to get into it with these folks. And that's not the kind of love you're supposed to show when it comes to dealing with people in these situations. Because if you go down to their level, then you know better than they are. You know what I mean? And this happened. I've seen her get into it a couple of different times with homeless people that we was either feeding or trying to clothe over because they might have came at her sideways. And I'm like, in these situations, you have to show attrition. I remember one time real quick. We was in some neighborhood. It was somewhere like, it wasn't Bankhead, but I think it was, because I remember whatever neighborhood we was in. I think it might have been close to Bankhead, because I think they was like T.I.'s family or somewhere, and they stayed nearby somewhere. But anyway, this was at a different church. So it was me and the guys. We was, a couple of the deacons from the church. We had set up. We was playing music, feed hot dogs, hamburgers out in this abandoned parking lot that used to be like a small grocery store. Two guys walked by, so we stopped them like, we feeding blah blah blah. Come on, brothers, get you something to eat. Now one of them, he went to calling us, cussing it out, calls everything but the child of God. He got all up in one of the deacons' faces and whatever, and one of the older deacons. So one of the elder, he was like an elder in the church. So the elder, we all, the old us would have probably punched him in the mouth and drug him down the street somewhere. But we sitting there like, brother, we talking to him, calm, brother, calm down, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. Long story short, next thing I know, him and his counterpart, they over there eating with us. You know what I mean? We done prayed for them. They boo-hoo crying. And then one of the guy that was with him said, man, you know what, man? We was on our way to get a hit of crack. He said, that's why my partner was a little tight when y'all kind of called us over here, because he was more thinking about that high. He said, but I'm glad we came over or whatever and got this word and got something to eat. Y'all good brothers, whatever. And they helped us break down whatever, everything before we left and everything before they walked off. Now, I don't know if they still went and got high or not, but I know one thing, we had an impact on their life because of the fact that, that we stayed firm in our belief in who we were in God. And the thing about it was, I told people, I said, people in these neighborhoods, they hurt and they need healing like everybody else. They not bad people just because they in bad situations or whatever. And I said, but at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Like I look at it part as I know God had us covered. No matter what we was walking into, God knew our intentions was good. So God wasn't going to let no harm come to us in that situation. You know what I'm saying? So, but think about, like I said, we're dealing with church folks, man. Church folks is the worst hurt. Yeah, church hurt is the worst hurt you could get.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? Like I've been through some hurt, but I've been guilty of changing churches a few times, but it was always to the end where I just felt like the hurt and the pain of what, and the thing, like I said, I didn't grow up in a church background like that. Yeah, we went to church, but not Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I didn't grow up like that. You know what I'm saying? So when I first time I really encountered it with seeing people, church folks all the time that really went to church and who I thought was really about that life, I've seen a lot of messiness. I don't know if you ever seen that show Greenleaf, but Greenleaf ain't stuff I see.
Listen, man. Listen, I tell people no. Now, I didn't grow up in a Pentecostal church or a Jehovah church, a Jehovah Witness church where they go to church through the week and stuff like that. I grew up in a Methodist church, and my granny was a member of a Methodist church and had been my great granddad helped start the church. You know what I'm saying? And then my grandfather was a member of Baptist church, so best of both worlds. You know what I'm saying? So, but Greenleaf, yeah, I seen it, but man, I didn't seen pistols be drawn at church. Stop playing, man. Like real talk, man. I didn't seen a pastor get into this old school dude face in this old school. So I tell you what, hold on, I'll be right back. Because he told the pastor to go ahead like 2-3 times. Pastor just still in his face, put the finger in the man's face. It's okay. I tell you what. Tell me he ain't go under that car seat, under that front seat and pull out that snug no third day. Yeah.
Let me tell you one time, right, bro?
Yeah, for real.
I know we about to run out of time here in a minute because we're gonna have to do a part 2 on this. But I know one time we was in like a Bible study, and it was kind of toward the end of Bible study or whatever, and the pastor was talking about something, and whatever it was, I disagreed or whatever with whatever she was saying. But I just told her basically I don't feel that way, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. And of course, she the type where anytime you disagree, you going against her, you going against God. Oh Lord, he about to destroy your life. It's about to be over with. It's about to be over with because you ain't agree with the pastor. So basically, we were supposed to all give $47. I remember specifically. We was all supposed to give $47 to whatever it was. So she said to me, well, since you doggone going against what I said or whatever, what God said, he said, God just told me you got to give $74. So I said, nah, God ain't tell me that. That's why I told her, God ain't tell me that. And then so one of the other members said, Eddie, you know you're going to go ahead and get her money. My wife looked over here and she said, you don't know my husband. He about to
Oh, wow.
Just like they say, you don't know my husband. He about to give up nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I get a 47 because that's what I agreed upon and, you know, or whatever. But I'm not about to get a 74 because you don't like what I said. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. And I gave up the 47. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, no, I'm not about to do that. I'm like, who you think you are to tell me I got to give double because you think, and I ain't gonna lie, I've had a couple of incidents with pastors where I could talk to respectable, like you said. You can have a respectful conversation with your pastor without being disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like with your mom and your dad, whoever, aunt or uncle, that, you know, older aunt or uncle, you can have a conversation and say some stuff without being disrespectful and speak your mind or whatever.
But but you gotta think about this, man. Pastors come and go so much from different churches, man. Like you might have a pastor for a good 2 years and you just not getting to know him or her. And the conference will move them to somebody else.
Yep.
To another church. So you don't really know who these pastors are, bro. And it seems like these days, just because you go to theology school, then you know you're a pastor, like you can mentor a congregation. Man, listen, man. Every pastor don't belong to talk over to a congregation, man. Mm-hmm. Because the thing about it, man, these pastors gotta respect husbands. Mm-hmm. That's my thing. They don't respect the husbands. Yeah. You know, like because some of these wives be fine as all outdoors. You know what I mean?
I would say, bro, we about to end this thing for the day because I want to say a few things before we get off here. But we definitely gonna have a conversation about that because, like I said, most of the kind of BS I'm talking about came from one church. So if I start going into the husband aspect of it, that's a whole nother episode. You know what I'm saying? Because I've seen it happen with me and every husband in that church. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, what was going on. But I want to go ahead and end it. We got to like the last couple of minutes. So I want to definitely thank D-Boss. I want to thank the fans. I want to thank, you know what I'm saying? We got a great opportunity to put this all over the world. Canada, Barbados, UK, Germany, Africa. You know what I mean? And it's going to be on a TV network starting next week, Thursday, Friday. It's going to be on a TV network, the number one TV network in Toronto, Canada area. So we have a great opportunity to be a part of something very, very historic. And we just wanted to make sure this first episode, you know, and moving forward was going to be a great show. And I hope everybody enjoyed. So follow us on IG, man. Get our IG numbers up. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, whatever. So, and put us all the way around the world. So everybody that watches this, especially the people overseas, definitely follow us. And, you know, we'll comment and chop it up with you. And if you got anything you want to comment on today, leave your comments, you know, below, whatever. It's going to be on Facebook, YouTube channel. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be all over the place. You know, our Podbean, you'll see where we on Spotify. We on iHeartRadio. So you're going to see all of that. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, man, you got anything before we get out of here?
Oh no, man. I just want to thank everybody for joining us, tuning in. I want to thank D-Boss, you know, and I want to thank, you know, my Canada family, my UK family, Jamaica family, Barbados, because, you know, we'll be touching and connecting with you know, all our family out there. And I just want to say, man, stay tuned for more important messages. 95 South Podcast. We appreciate you.
All right, we out of here, y'all, man. Y'all have a good and blessed one.
We got the good vibes, got the 1942 pouring in my cup. In the session, real loud, good gas, yeah, you know we about to roll it up. Bring the bottles to the session, big tab, go ahead and just live it up.